5 on your side at 10 starts with breaking news from the Missouri municipal elections. Kara Spencer is the mayor-elect of St. Louis, handily beating the incumbent Tashara Jones, making her a one-term mayor and signaling a change in voter sentiment in the city. The final results coming in within the hour. Good evening. I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Kelly Jackson. All of tonight's results are running at the bottom of your screen and available right now on KSDK.com. We start tonight with a mayoral rematch. Alderwoman Kara Spencer won with 64% of the vote, beating Tashara Jones by nearly 30 points. It's a similar result to her dominant win in last month's primary, but a much different outcome from when she lost to Jones in 2021. Just minutes ago, both candidates addressed their supporters.
We have live crews at both watch parties. Let's start with our political editor, Mark Maxwell, at a joyous Spencer campaign gathering. Mark, this was a landslide.
Mike and Kelly, good evening. We're at the Union Station Hotel in downtown St. Louis. This just one part of St. Louis's comeback story that Kara Spencer hopes to finish writing. We heard her address her many hundreds of supporters here just moments ago. Look, twice Kara Spencer and Tashara Jones were on the ballot in 2025, and twice the voters of St. Louis, by roughly a 2-to-1 margin, opted for Kara Spencer, picking change over the incumbent. We'll get to Tashara Jones and her campaign and her concession speech in just a moment. But for now, let's listen in to the victory speech from Kara Spencer a moment ago.
But this campaign, this election was about so much more than potholes and trash. It was built on the idea that we can build a downtown that we can all, our region, the St. Louis region, can be proud of, while making neighborhoods south and north safer and more prosperous, stemming the tide of population loss, particularly in North St. Louis. While we disagreed on many things over the campaign trail, I know that we share a deep love and a commitment to our city, and I want to thank her for her service to St. Louis.
You hear there the remarks from Kara Spencer greeting her supporters. She also talked briefly with reporters just after that. Now it's a sprint to the transition, just 7 days until the inauguration. Another interesting note with the comptroller's race, which we'll cover in a moment, a clean sweep of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment. What it means is for the first time since 1988, St. Louis is about to have a return to an all-white candidates and politicians at the Board of Estimate and Apportionment. No more black elected officials in those top 3 most powerful, decisive roles. A night of transition in St. Louis. For more on that, let's toss it over to Laura Barczewski, who's at the campaign watch party and results party for incumbent Mayor Tashara Jones, who just moments ago delivered her concession speech. Laura?
Mark, it has been a really sad night here for Mayor Tashara Jones and all of her supporters. She actually started the day with cautious optimism and ended the day thanking St. Louis citizens. She took the podium one last time as mayor and talked about everything her administration was able to accomplish, pointing to a reduction in crime and investment here in North City where we stand today. She said she ran this campaign truly for the people and is leaving this office with the city in a better place.
So my opponent will inherit a city that is safer than it has been in decades. A city looking at billions of dollars in incoming investments, with hundreds of millions of dollars being spent as we speak to lift up every community in St. Louis. They will inherit countless projects that I started.
Mayor Jones ended her speech saying St. Louis's brightest days are ahead. And she ended with a few words of encouragement for young girls everywhere. You can do anything. Reporting live in North St. Louis, Laura Barczewski, 5 on your side.
And for the first time in 30 years, there will be a new St. Louis City comptroller. Former state rep and St. Louis Alderwoman Donna Behringer beat longtime comptroller Darlene Green by a 3-point margin.
Green has run virtually unopposed over the last 3 decades. 5 on your side's Brent Solomon is live at Behringer's campaign party where she just addressed supporters. Brent?
Well, it's time for change. That's the message from the new comptroller and her supporters who say after 30 years of having the same person at the helm, it's time for fresh ideas and a new perspective. You hear her supporters there behind me right now. Go ahead, take a look at your screen right now. Former city alderwoman and state rep Donna Behringer was met with a huge applause from a crowd of voters who gathered at the Dogwood. That's in the Grove. That's where she told the crowd of people that many thought she was crazy for wanting to take on a 30-year incumbent. But she says after knocking on doors, she heard from voters who want a steady, consistent face showing up every day at City Hall. As the chief financial officer for the city's money, Behringer also plans to be an advocate for what she calls an important asset that will boost travel into our region.
Our biggest asset is the airport. And in order for St. Louis to get a state-of-the-art airport, we have to not only work with Jefferson City for the funding, but we have to make sure we don't put any hurdles into place. And I will be a hands-on airport commissioner at every meeting, doing whatever I need to do to make sure that we get the airport we need in the city, because that helps our city grow.
And Behringer tells me she has a couple of immediate goals, one of them bringing back workers who left the comptroller's office because they felt overwhelmed, she says. She also wants to update technology to make sure it's efficient for creating invoices and signing documents. Quote, none of that is happening now, she said. We're live in St. Louis. Brent Solomon, 5 on your side.
Darlene Green did not hold a public event tonight. We did reach out to her for a comment, but we've yet to hear back.
4 members of the Board of Aldermen were challenged tonight. All incumbents easily won re-election. They are Ann Schweitzer in Ward 1, Shane Cohn, Ward 3, Alicia Saunier in Ward 7, and Laura Keys in Ward 13. Now to the controversial Prop B in St. Louis County.
Yeah, just yesterday, the Missouri Secretary of State's office announced it's investigating a complaint that County Executive Sam Page's office spent public money to oppose the ballot question. Voters were asked to give the county council the power to fire county department heads appointed by Page. He filed lawsuits to try and remove it from the ballot. And right now, his efforts appear to be paying off. As you can see, no winning big. Prop B losing tonight.
And our election coverage continues now on KSDK.com. That is where you can find all of the latest results and reaction. Just text the word results to 314-425-5355 and we will send you a link. And coming up at 10:24, 5 on your side, political analyst Anita Mannion will join us here in studio to break down tonight's biggest races.
Tonight, area rivers are starting to recede. However, floodwaters still having impacts on the bi-state. The Merrimack River is now cresting. Flooding still has Highway 141 shut down near Interstate 44 tonight. MoDOT does expect it to reopen by Thursday morning.
It was a scary situation for a driver this morning nearby at the Worldwide Technology Soccer Park. An SUV got stuck in the floodwaters. Crews were able to come to the driver's rescue. Well, some scattered showers may move in overnight.
So Weather Impact Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell says it shouldn't have an impact on flooding, right, Scott?
No, we're not expecting it to make any adjustments to the river levels. Any amount of rain we see in the next 36 to 48 hours, insignificant in the scheme of things. Good news, Valley Park is now past the crest. We appear to be very close to cresting, Fenton down to Arnold, but only at a moderate stage. Sure, there's some impacts, but not as bad as what we had around Valley Park and back at Eureka. New Athens expected along the Kaskaskia to crest tomorrow morning, around 85.8 feet. But again, no significant rain in the next week. We are watching a disturbance coming at us from the north north and west. Managed to get up to 53 degrees. We've only dropped to 46. That after starting at 32. Those clouds keep coming from the north and west overnight, but we're dry here through 3 or 4 o'clock. As we head towards the morning rush hour, a few showers try to develop to the north of St. Louis mainly. They'll be extremely light and insignificant. So as you head out tomorrow morning for rush hour, a lot of clouds, very low rain chances early on, and low 40s in St. Louis. We'll talk about the weekend warm-up in just a bit.
Just hours ago, Maryland Heights police released dash and body cam video showing the moments an officer shot and injured a 16-year-old accused of stealing a car. We have a warning. The video is disturbing. The shooting back in January happened on Jonesdale Court. Police had chased 2 stolen Kias into a dead-end residential street. A 15-year-old hopped out of one of those stolen cars and into the other. An officer opened fire as the car drove towards him and eventually knocked him to the ground. The 16-year-old and the officer were taken to the hospital to be treated for their injuries. The 15-year-old was arrested. The investigation is ongoing.
Tonight, a Lincoln County foster mother is accused of child abuse and neglect, and she remains behind bars. Just hours ago, a judge denied lowering her $250,000 bond. Brenda Deutsch was in court today. She's accused of severely beating a child for years. Investigators believe Deutsch may have traded the girl for an exotic monkey. They also believe there could be more victims since Deutsch fostered around 200 children over the years.
Tonight, a Lincoln County teenager reported missing on Sunday is safe and back home with her family.
An accused child predator is behind bars. 5 on your side's Robert Townsend is here with the message authorities now have for parents.
Mike and Kelly, investigators in several counties are relieved the missing girl has been reunited with her family. Now, they say the suspect confessed he met the child online and later sexually assaulted her. Investigators say Joseph Kunashk left his home in Springfield, Missouri and drove 3 hours to Lincoln County. They say once there, the 20-year-old suspect lured a 14-year-old girl from her home in the middle of the night.
Parents had reported that child missing in the early morning hours to law enforcement.
According to court papers, Kunashk allegedly messaged the girl by sending her text messages.
The child was communicating on an app that's called Y99, some type of chat group or app.
Kunashk allegedly told investigators he met the victim in the chat room on Sunday, and he claimed she told him to pick her up.
We were able to get the cell phone of the child and recover the messages between the defendant and the child, where we were able to determine that he had come from Springfield all the way out to Lincoln County to meet what he knew was an underage child.
Investigators say Monday a license plate reader in Springfield captured footage of the suspect's truck. Video surveillance later tracked the child to a wooded area in Lebanon. Authorities say Kunashk admitted to having sex with the girl in his truck in a church parking lot.
A very scary situation for any parent. I just hope that that serves as a message for people to remain vigilant.
Watch their text messages, watch their emails.
Safety consultant Mike Barberi says parents can also invest in so-called cloning technology, which allows them to track their kids' online behavior.
If you happen to be typing at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's going to pop up on your parents' computer.
I'm glad we have her back.
Kunashk is charged with rape and endangering the welfare of a child. He's also tied to 2 child molestation cases in Greene County and in Lebanon. Tonight, he's locked up without bond.
A desperate search tonight in the Dominican Republic. Dozens are dead after a roof caved in a packed nightclub.
He had more than just baseball talent. He had the right kind of makeup.
The tragedy leaving the St. Louis Cardinals in mourning. A close call caught on camera.
He was inches away from her death.
The unexpected hazard that left a Pennsylvania driver shaken.
Could this morning be the last time at or below freezing in St. Louis until fall? It's possible as a warmer pattern takes hold over the next 7 to 10 days if warmer weather leads to wetter weather in 6 minutes.
Nearly 80 people are dead, 160 injured after a roof collapse at a nightclub in the Dominican Republic.
Tonight, crews continue to search the rubble for more victims and survivors. It is believed at least 300 people were inside the Jet Set nightclub in Santo Domingo when the roof collapsed early this morning. Among the missing, merengue singer Ruby Perez, who was performing at the time.
Former Cardinals pitcher Octavio Dotel was one of those killed in the tragedy. The club honoring him tonight as a vital part of the 2011 World Series championship team. Sports director Frank Cusimano talked tonight to Dotel's pitching coach here in St. Louis.
51-year-old Octavio Dotel pitched for 13 major league teams, and he actually only spent 4 months with the St. Louis Cardinals, but it was the best 4 months of his baseball career. You see, he got here in July of 2011, and we know what happened in October of 2011. Dotel came to the Cardinals at the trading deadline with the Cardinals needing pitching. It was a blockbuster trade. 8 players involved, including Kobe Rasmus. Dotel came with 2 other pitchers, and he performed. 2 wins in the postseason with a 2.61 earned run average. Dave Duncan told me earlier today Dotel was a quality guy.
He had more than just baseball talent. He had the right kind of makeup, very competitive. He didn't joke up like a lot of guys do, you know, they get nervous in those situations, not him. He was there competing at his highest level in the most critical times. He was similar to Adam Wainwright, Chris Carpenter, with his ability to communicate with the other pitchers.
Bottom line, Octavio Dotel played a nice role on a Cardinal World Championship squad.
An Illinois judge has agreed to move the murder trial of Sean Grayson. The former Sangamon County deputy is behind bars charged in the deadly shooting of Sonia Massey. She was shot inside her home in Springfield, Illinois last year. Grayson's attorney asked for a change of venue, citing concerns about an impartial jury. A hearing will be held later this month in nearby Peoria County to determine pretrial and trial dates.
Caught on camera, a large tree comes crashing down on an SUV at a stoplight in Pennsylvania. The tree fell so hard it shattered into pieces. Thankfully, the driver was able to get out of the car, appearing to be physically okay, but stunned. Witnesses say she was less than 3 inches away from serious injury or death. And check this out, a close call for a Southern Illinois family. Lightning hit their car as they were driving down Illinois Route 13 in Williamson County. At first they thought it was a gunshot, but smoke began filling the car. No one was hurt, but the strike left a huge hole in the roof. It also fried the car's electrical system and exploded the rear bumper and exhaust.
Boy, it's scary, both of those stories. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell is here with the weather impact forecast, and we're still looking. I know you're still keeping a very close eye on those river levels.
We are, and you know, the crest working down the Merrimack, it's not going to get any worse than it is, okay? We've reached the worst of it. It'll start getting better in the next 24 to 36 hours, even downstream. Right now, a lot of clouds starting to roll in, but they're high clouds. This morning we started clear, and it was cold. Upper 20s, lower 30s. Officially in St. Louis, our low was 32 degrees. So that brings up the question, is this it for a freeze in St. Louis? Christy shared this picture yesterday on our 5 on Your Side Weather Watchers Facebook group. Look at the redbuds. They are just so beautiful. They went through the night without any problem. Our actual average last freezing temperature, 32 or lower, is April 2nd. You get out into some of the outlying areas, we start pushing it back. Ellsbury and Rosebud, you're almost to the end of April. But it does happen into May, which is why we always say, don't plant until Mother's Day if you really want to make sure you're safe from frost and freeze. And again, these are 32 or lower. You can still have frost when it's 36 degrees. You're looking there at Belleville, Jerseyville, Ramsey. Again, we're coming up on those dates of the average. Right now, you're in the 30s east and northeast of St. Louis, back into the 40s west and southwest of St. Louis. Officially, St. Louis right now looking at 46 degrees. Winds are out of the southeast, between the clouds increasing the southeast breeze. We ought to keep temperatures from dropping too much more overnight. Most of us will stay dry tonight. Tomorrow, very slim chance we'll see a shower or two. More clouds than anything else. And then tomorrow afternoon, we actually bump those temperatures up. The jet streams in that northwest flow aloft, which means disturbances. They come rippling along. And even though they're headed our way over the next couple of days, the rainfall amounts from them will be minuscule compared to what we had last week. Most of us are looking at rainfall generally less than 1/4 of an inch. Some of us will not see a drop of rain. In fact, many of us won't see much at all. Tomorrow morning, there's a chance for a few showers, mainly north and northeast of St. Louis. A bit of a break. Going into tomorrow evening, there's a small chance for a spot shower. We get into Thursday. Most of the morning's on the dry side, but as we head towards midday, you see a few showers trying to develop off to the east and southeast. And then as the upper level energy rotates overhead during the afternoon and evening hours Thursday, we may get a rumble of thunder, but it doesn't look like there's much of a chance for severe weather even close to us. You have to go much farther to the south. Near 60 on Friday and then back into the 70s by the end of the weekend, and into early next week, we could hit 80 degrees on Monday. So, yes, it's still a little below average for a few of these days, but this morning may have been our last freeze in the metro area. We just can't guarantee it. So don't plan anything that's overly sensitive over the next few days.
All right, Scott, thanks.
A big night in St. Louis politics coming up. We'll break down tonight's biggest races with our political analyst, Anita Mannion.
Well, as polling numbers continue to come in, we're going to take a closer look at the races, focusing on the St. Louis mayor's race with political analyst Anita Mannion. So this really was a landslide. What do you think were the key issues here and really the vulnerabilities of Mayor Jones?
Yeah, certainly Kara Spencer tried to highlight city services, and the recent issues with snow removal and trash removal were probably the straws that broke the camel's back. But ultimately, I think it's just a sign that people are not happy with the way things are going in St. Louis. They don't feel like the city's thriving, and sort of like the president, even if you don't have control over everything, ultimately you get the blame for it.
And it's true. Crime and public safety.
Absolutely.
That was like the biggest concerns. And you just mentioned snow removal. But what do you think really was the key thing that people really were concerned about?
Yeah, I think that, as you said, public safety, even though, as Mayor Jones said, crime rates have come down, I think when you talk to people, they still don't feel safe.
Right. I hear people say those statistics aren't right. They don't believe the statistics.
Right. And when you get people even from the county and other folks wanting to get them downtown for events, they seem to be reticent based on that. So I think, we're seeing diminishing population, which is also problematic. So I think all those things pile up, and it just makes people feel like the city isn't doing what it should be.
All right. Kara Spencer has made a lot of promises about how she's going to fix things. So kind of talk about the challenges she faces about implementing her agenda.
Yeah, as Mayor Jones said, it's hard to get things done in 4 years. And the structure in St. Louis City, the mayor doesn't have all the power. You have the Board of Aldermen, you have the comptroller. So even when you're talking about finances and budgetary issues, you've got all these other powers at play. So Kara Spencer is going to need to come in and unify the city because it was a contentious campaign. And then now she's facing a state takeover of the police department, dealing with the RAM settlement fund. So she has a lot on her plate.
What about the relationship between her and the Board of Aldermen? Now she's coming right off the Board of Aldermen. Do you expect that to be better than it was with Mayor Jones?
It'll be interesting to see. Even though Megan Green endorsed Tashara Jones, she says, she'll work with Kara Spencer. And ultimately, the two candidates had a lot similarities on policy.
Right.
And that's part of the reason the campaign got so nasty and personal, because there aren't a lot of policy differences.
Let's pivot briefly to the St. Louis School Board. There were 3 open seats, and board president Tony Cousins was the only incumbent that was running, and she lost by a distant fourth. Right. So no surprise that there have been many issues with the school board. So what do you think really? What do you think ultimately led to her not winning?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, when we look at what's been going on with St. Louis Public Schools, it's kind of amazing that she even ran in the first place, as a lot of other incumbents step aside. And so their job is to oversee the superintendent, and we're on our 4th superintendent in 3 years, and to oversee the finances, which we have all these huge financial scandals and problems. And even some of Cousins' travel expenses have come under scrutiny. And so I think, residents of the city know that St. Louis Public Schools have not been where they want to be. Student achievement is lower than most school districts. Attendance is lower. There's been transportation problems, budgetary problems, and now this big scandal with the superintendent and spending. And so I don't think it's surprising that Cousins lost this race.
All right, a lot more with Anita on 5+, and we'll be right back.
Caught on camera, the newest addition at the St. Louis Zoo overcomes a log jam. A habitat camera captured baby elephant Jet trying to climb over a log. It took him a few minutes, but he eventually figured it out. The zoo says Jet will make his public debut.
You can do it, Jet.
Come on, Jet. You'll be able to see him in a few weeks.
He did make it.
Toddlers never give up.
Yeah. And Scott has a
There
final.
we go.
There you go. Scott has a final check of the weather impact forecast.
Yeah, and I think we are looking at a pretty quiet pattern overall. Yes, there's a chance for a shower tomorrow. Yes, there's a chance we could have a shower or thunderstorm on Thursday. Overall, in the scheme of things, it's pretty insignificant. Many of us won't see much rain at all. And then we get into the weekend, and it looks like a spectacular weekend on the way.
That's good news. There you have it. 5 on your side at 10. We're always streaming on 5+.
Have a great evening.